Welcome to the video for Project Webberley, an accessibility checker and website advisor to help people improve their websites.
Hello, my name is Elijah Glenn, and I contributed to the Webberley project by working on the website development. This consisted of me building various pages for the user to interface with, styling the pages, and implementing the functions provided by Abby and Matthew into the necessary places.
My name is Fernando, and I was in charge of managing or finding a platform that we could use to host this website that would work well for our purposes. I decided to go with Flask. Flask is a Python backend HTML frontend application that's used to create websites and also mobile apps.
My name is Matthew Sheffer, and I worked on analyzing the web pages submitted by our users, mainly focusing on function and accessibility.
My name is Abby Collier, and I contributed to the Python backend and web scraping portion of the project. I also created the Webby logo. So here you can see our website, Webberley. There's an input bar where a user can input their URL and a description of the website. We've got our little mascot Webby, and you can click to an about page that just talks about each of the four of us who contributed to the project. The user can put in a URL and the page loads for a moment. And then we land on this results page. So the first thing you see on the left is code that I contributed to. We display all of the images on their website and whether or not they have alt text, what the alt text is, which is important for screen readers. On the right side of the screen is the explanation that goes with our report. So this first entry is about alt text, what makes good alt text and how they can improve theirs potentially. The next part of the page are some visuals to help the user get a sense of what kind of words they're using on their page. So on the left is a word cloud showing the most used polysyllabic words, and on the right is just a bar chart of counts of those words. I made both of these visuals, and I employed a word tokenizer and polysyllabic word script that Matt wrote, which he talks about a little bit later.
I wrote a program that looks at navigational tools like labels, input fields, and header tags to determine if they are being used in the appropriate way that will help people using assistive technologies like screen readers to use the site. I created a program that will check each piece of hypertext on each page in a domain to determine if they are working properly and not returning a code other than a 200 or 304 level response. I developed a program that takes text and breaks it down into words and sentences to be used for several pieces of data, including another feature I wrote, a reading level for the site. I also wrote a spell checker almost entirely from scratch. Each of these programs came with their unique challenges, but one challenge that was consistent throughout was the fact that no two web pages are designed the same. My thought is that web design is like writing music in that there is a science to it, but there are so many different ways to create something that works. This means that each of my programs has to be robust and clever enough to handle the many different ways a site designer can put them together. One example of this is the many different options available when adding an A tag to a site. The A tag is what defines a hyperlink in HTML, and my program that can check for bad links has to be able to tell if the hypertext is a URL. The hypertext could be a phone number, email address, Excel file, or PDF file, among many other things. But once it has been able to determine if the hypertext is a link to a web page, it still has to figure out if the link is a full URL path, a reference path, or an anchor to a specific part of the page, and then possibly reformat the URL to get an accurate HTTP response. However, overcoming this challenge means that we have a very robust and capable final product.
So as Matt spoke to, we set ourselves a unique challenge where instead of trying to get really good at scraping one kind of website, we were trying to make a scraper that could handle a whole bunch of different websites. And so, sometimes some things we managed to work around, some things not as well. The site works best with HTML sites. It does less well with anything that's being dynamically rendered in JavaScript. Also, I found with sometimes with the polysyllabic word visualizations, our tokenizer would, just grab some random smashed up words that weren't real, and it would throw off the count a little bit.
One of the greatest challenges that I think I faced while working on this project was trying to remind myself to use the strengths of the platform as a dual platform. So sometimes we would want to do something on the website, and then we'd figure out that it was actually easier to do it on the Python side and then send it over to the website already mostly sorted.
A final hiccup was a style issue. I was wishing to have the recommendations aligned with the scraped images and text on the opposite side of our results column. Although this was not solved, we decided to change to a number-based labeling system so recommendation numbers match the scraped data number.
I also learned a lot about working with two different types of partners who are working in front end and back end. So we had to understand to a certain degree, even though the work was divided, we still had to understand what each other was doing so that we could merge these two together into a cohesive flow. And I'm pretty certain that we were able to do that successfully. And I'm very glad about how our project turned out. Thank you.